Okay. Open to receive, ready to give. I love the way my talks work me throughout the week. As I was thinking about this, open to receive, ready to give, I had a chicken and egg experience. And I was like, which one of these really comes first? And after some careful thought, I realized that that's backwards. It's really ready to give, open to receive. That's really what it's about. You have to be ready to give what you have before you can really accept. And so that got me thinking, chicken and egg, what is that all about, really? That's been an age-old question. They've thought about that since forever. And do you have a definitive answer? Do we know? Chicken or the egg? Which is first?
Circle has no beginning and no end.
All of those answers keep coming up. It's kind of like who's on first? What's on second? I don't know. Third base. That is so good. Isn't that classic? You should figure out how to do that. Yeah. The Oxford Dictionary tried to figure this who's first, the chicken or the egg idea. And they went back into the etymology and looked at the history of words. And both words had been around for a really long time, so they figured they were the same age. Then science got involved in it. And philosophers have been dealing with it. Aristotle, he had the same issue with the Oxford Dictionary. He's like, well, they've both been around historically for a long time. They both emerged similarly at the same time. Plutarch said the same thing. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas also, they did it from the Christian perspective, the creation story, and since everything was created in the first 7 days, they figured that the chicken and the egg came simultaneously. But then science got involved, and they did the definitive answer for me. I think this is what comes up. I mean, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Who's going to argue with him, right? Trump. He just gets in everywhere, doesn't he? No, it's true. I mean, and then when he really needs to tweet, he takes all day to come out with one. But we'll deal with that another time. Let's get back to the chicken and the egg. It's so much more fun than Trump at this moment. Although he's, people love him. He does his thing. Maybe not in this room, but even in this room, there are some, it's really interesting. We were having a conversation in the car on the way here. And there's this guy, Dennis Prager, who's being asked he loves classical music, and the conductor of the Santa Monica Orchestra asked him to conduct, and now it was 2 years ago that the conductor asked him to come, and now the performance is coming up, and some of the members of the orchestra are getting really concerned about this. They don't want him on because he's a conservative, and it's Santa Monica, Soviet Monica, right? So they don't really want that to happen, and it's become a big thing. And we were discussing how much of a person's life on a political perspective gets into the other parts of their lives, and how are these boundaries happening? And what came to us is, like, you have to take it case by case. But at some point, if we can't find common ground, how do we find the middle when we're on these different poles? So if classical music can bring people together, they can maybe then begin to have a conversation. I mean, Tip O'Neill and who was it he against? Was it, come on, Tip O'Neill. Who was he on the other side with Tip O'Neill? Wasn't it, was Gingrich already there? That wasn't then. It was before that, right? Earlier than that. But here's the point. The point I'm making is, if the guy that it was with, Tip O'Neill, he used to go drinking with his Republican colleague, and they used to love to drink beer together, and they would sit down and drink beer together because they shared this enjoyment of beer. And they would try to talk about which was the best. Was it an ale or was it a stout? And then from that conversation, they could begin having a conversation about their different sides in politics. At some point, we have to find some things that we have in common so that we can work around those things that we don't have in common. That's, So maybe they should let him conduct the orchestra and he keep his politics in his pocket and just do this all day. And then after the concert's over, they can talk about other stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. Or drink beer. Right. Where was I? I was with Neil deGrasse Tyson and the egg thing. So Dinosaurs have been around a long time, and eggs are the oldest fossils they can find, right? So I'm thinking, and he's thinking, that what it was the egg was first, because the chicken came out of an egg from a bird that was not so much a chicken at the time, but the DNA within the egg changed and morphed, and that's when the chicken came out, right? Can you go with that? Huh? The dinosaur came first. but not at the same time. People weren't there with the dinosaurs. No. But here's the bottom line, and this is what was so powerful to me. I'm reading this book called Resiliency, because resiliency is really what it's all about. We have to be kind of resilient to all the things that come in our lives, because if we don't have the bounce back power, we're in a stuck position, and that's what's happened for a lot of people. There's not much resiliency. We're in a stuck position. So here's the ponderable for everybody. How do we get unstuck? And this is great, because what I found out in this book by Bonnie Bernard is that humans seek out problems to be solved. Solving problems is one of our greatest joys. We have a problem. We should all be very excited and joyful now, because there's something for us to solve. How do we get back together again? How do we find common ground? How do we find unity? How do we give so that we can receive? This is the time. This is the call for it. It's some urgent stuff out here, my friends. And so I'm thinking that we all have something really special to give. And here's why I think give comes first. In the Bible, I know, don't get freaked out, but it's a really good book. It's got some neat messages in it. It's also got some crazy stuff in it. You got to sift through there to find what the riches are. It's kind of like a mine. You go into the mine and you chip, and you find an interesting rock, and you chip, and there's a gem. And in the gem, I found it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Okay, if it's the Father's good pleasure to give, and the Father is like God, Spirit, the universe, everything first, the gift was there. He couldn't give it to you if he didn't have a gift to give. Giving comes first, ergo giving comes first. I have faith in that. And faith is knowing that when you take a step, the ground is going to be there in front of you. And if you can take steps, you have faith. And if you have a little bit of faith, just look down when you walk, and you'll get more faith. It'll build up, kind of like John and the meditation. 10 years to get 30 minutes?
My math may have been off, but that was on purpose. So I'm still looking for that.
Thank you. I appreciate on purpose bad math. You know that. When I talk about giving and receiving, I frequently use the idea that if I want to give you $20 and your fist is closed, you can't receive the $20. You have to be open to receive. But I have to have the $20 in order to give it to you first, right? A friend of mine had this really cool dog that did this trick where he would say, "Hey, watch this. You got $1? Put it in your pocket." And he put the pocket. He said, "Give me the $1." And he'd take the $1 and he put it in his pocket, and his dog would jump up and take the $1 out of the pocket and give it to the person. And he'd say, "Wow, isn't that cool?" He said, "Yeah, try this. You got a 20? And he goes, "Yeah." "Here, put it in your pocket." The dog would jump up, take the 20, and give it back to my friend. But I do believe that we all have a divine and perfect gift. We all have something to give. And if we can really attach ourselves to that and find that little nugget that we have, find that ore, that gem inside the ore that we are, there's a universe out there waiting to receive the gift that you have. Dr. Holmes talks about this in the Living the Science of Mind. He says there is a spiritual energy caught in every person's mind, locked up in the individual life, waiting to be used. Spiritual energy within each and every one of us, locked within us, waiting to be used, waiting to be utilized, waiting to be brought out into the world, to be made whole, to be made real, to be made manifest. See, we're not here by accident. We're here on purpose. There was this botany teacher, and he was trying to get his students to really understand this idea. And he said, "Okay, I want you to all go out today, and after class, find a flower on a deserted road somewhere or on a trail, a flower that seems like no one would ever see that flower. And I want you to stand in front of that flower. I want you to look at it. I want you to analyze it. I want you to count the petals and look at the blooms, look at the various parts of the flower, and spend time understanding that flower. And then come back to the class and tell me what you found out. And people came back with all kinds of great stories and responses and stuff like that. But the point of this exercise for the student, for the teacher, that he gave to the students was that each person is like that flower. And until we give it attention and really look at it and give our full energy to it, that flower has not been fully appreciated. Each person is like that flower. We all have the ability to give that attention, to give the attention, to give the love, to have the faith enough to stand and listen and hear and share without judgment, right? With discernment. We're not saying you got to drink everybody's Kool-Aid, but you can admit that, okay, that's Kool-Aid, I got Kool-Aid, we got different flavors, but let me listen to yours. Let me see what you're all about a little bit first. Let me unlock the spiritual energy within me, and maybe your spiritual energy and my spiritual energy will come together, and we'll have some spiritual alchemy, and the world becomes a better place. Just by noticing, by paying attention, by giving our love, by giving our acceptance that just what is may be okay. Maybe not permanent. Nothing's permanent in the world anyway. So if we can accept what is right now, at least now we don't have to debate that anymore. We can debate what's next on the other side of what we've accepted, from a place of non-judgment, from a place of compassion, with a sense of forgiveness. Because we certainly do know that the world is in need. We saw it this week. We saw it yesterday. That's crazy. Change is trying to take place. You know, they're not trying to get rid of history. In New Orleans, they had some of the similar things happen. In a lot of cities in the South, they've taken their Confederate statues and put them in museums where they could be studied for the reality of what that experience was. It's not that we need to hide the history of our country, but we can definitely move into a new way of understanding that history. And there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Anybody see Dr. Jim's post on Facebook? Yeah. Well, he had a couple of them, but the one that I thought was that Johanna turned into was what is about the. Did the white supremacists know that the tiki torches were invented by brown people? I think not. But we all have this gift. We all have this unique seed within us. It's waiting to be burst forward. And sometimes if we can give that idea to another person and they're willing to receive it, between the two of us, we can make something big happen. We can make a change take place. And I'm really about that. Yes, manifesting parking places, I'm down with that. Nice to have a good parking place, okay? Manifesting a great job, absolutely wonderful. Finding a place to use your skill sets, not bad. How about a nice place to live? Nothing wrong with that either. But at the same time, with this power of manifestation that we come to understand here in the science of mind, is it anything wrong with us using that power of manifestation to lift up the world, to change the world one person at a time? Gandhi was just one guy. King was just one guy. You know, doesn't take a lot. Sir John Templeton was just one guy. Sir John Templeton was this major investor that turned into a philanthropist that gives this huge Templeton Award every year to people that are doing good works in the world. And he said that he who produces an item of unique beauty in his garden, which he considers to be the mind, in his mind, may have a duty to give that seed to others. Are you feeling a sense of duty? And duty is not like obligation. It's like a prideful thing. I have the duty to do this. This is something that I can do. I have a seed of an idea, a germ of a thought that can develop into a magnificent movement that helps to shift and change the world. Or maybe just my neighborhood. Maybe I just organize my block club. Maybe I just do something great for my kid's school. I mean, it doesn't have to be super huge, just a little bit. Because if you do something great at your kid's school, maybe some kid at that school grows up to be the next King or Gandhi. You don't know what the ripple impact. You've seen the chaos theory, right? The butterfly flapping its wings over here, and then they have a hurricane in Florida. I mean, we know all that stuff. So let's put it into practice. Let's use it and understand that we might be the motivator to that great happening that's taking place in the world today. We have the duty to release the seed of our ideas, of our knowledge, of our creativity, of what's good within us, and move it forward. And it's just, this week it just totally convinced me that we need to do this. Get off our duffs. You know, if you're comfortable in your life, get uncomfortable. They say that the job of the minister is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. If you're comfortable, I want you to get uncomfortable today and figure out what it is you got to do. My next part is about receiving what? What are we receiving? What are we receiving? I think today the receiving, it's not on here. Okay. I think today the receiving is to receive the knowledge, to truly receive the knowledge that each and every one of us is important to the world. To receive the knowledge that we each have enough love, we each have enough acceptance, we each have the ability to enough forgiveness, we each have enough compassion in the world to listen to somebody who has an opinion that might not be like ours and not get all twisted behind it. Listen with an open heart and an open mind and an open idea that this is another human being that's filled with the same kind of love, that has the same desire for good in life that I have. Maybe they got a different opinion about it, but if I can't start to listen to that, then I've missed my experience of life. Because see, we, you, I, we are all here because we are important to the life scheme around us. We wouldn't be here if we weren't important. It's just not how the universe works. Everything in the universe is important. Everything. Important to the life around us and important to God. Because God invented us, created us for this time, for this place. In Thoughts Are Things, Dr. Ernest Holmes says, you make your life mean, little, and limit its possibilities when you refuse to accept the whole gift of God. That whole gift of God is within each and every one of us. Have we experienced the wholeness and the truth of who we really are? That's really the call today. And as we do that, we move it to a place where something special can happen. Something a lot more special that happened to this guy at a hotel in Baltimore back in the 1700s. It was like the swankiest hotel in Baltimore. They were kind of hoity-toity. And this farmer guy walked in, and he said he wanted a room. And the manager said, sorry, I ain't got a room for you. Really, are you sure? Nope, don't have a room for you. So he left. He went down the street to the competitor's hotel. A couple hours later, he found out that that farmer guy was actually Thomas Jefferson, Vice President of the United States. So I sent him a note. Jefferson opens the note, turns it over, scribbles back, sends it back to the manager. When the manager got the note back, it says, if you don't have a room for the common farmer American, you don't have room for the Vice President of the United States. If we don't have room for the common person who might have an idea different from us, we don't have the time for the bigger idea that may come to us. If we limit ourselves, if we limit our ability to be open, if we step into a sense of meanness, and I'm not talking about nasty mean, I'm just talking about kind of crusty. We limit our possibilities to expand into the bigness of who we really are. You never know. Might be the vice president knocking. A former vice president. But there's a whole bunch of vice presidents that are still around, Betsy, who could come by dressed in, like, I don't know, gym clothes or something. You're like, I don't want this guy in my house. Let's complete the cycle of giving and receiving. So, I think that all of us really want, maybe it's just me, but I think all of us want to know what our purpose is. I think we all want to feel a value in life. I think we all want to feel some sense of self-control, and feel effective in our lives, and to have something happen that allows us to feel a sense of self-worth, right? And so this idea of being ready to give your gift because the world is ready to receive it, that process, that circulation of giving and receiving is just the right formula for allowing us to feel that purpose, to feel that value, to feel that efficacy, to feel that sense of self-worth. It begins with acceptance. Acceptance is the answer. Faith allows you to move into that space where what you're accepting doesn't necessarily have to change who you are. It just allows you to open to a larger experience of what and who you are. Resilience is how you bounce back. You bounce back from the points that go like, ooh, really? Well, breathe into it and keep on moving. That's the resilience, right? And what brings all of it together is love. Love. Having love as the background of all that you do allows you to move through life with this sense of peace and calm that others are going, how do they remain unruffled and unfeathered in all of this mess? Because they're operating with love. Because we're operating with faith. Because we're accepting what is, but knowing that what is doesn't have to always be. And that gives us the resilience to bounce back against it. To understand and know who I am, what it is that I love, how shall I live my life, and how do I make a difference in the world. Dr. Holmes says, there is no reason to doubt that in the field of spiritual consciousness, a chain reaction could be created which would bless the whole world. Wow. We have the key to using spiritual consciousness. That's why we're religious scientists. See, we have the formula. The science of mind gives us the formula to crack that spiritual consciousness. And then what he's talked about, see, at the time he wrote this, it was the 50s. They had just been doing the testings of the atomic bombs and looking at atomic power and this idea of what was in the atom and the potential destruction, but also the potential benefits of all that energy within the atom. That chain reaction totally freaked Holmes out. And he was thinking, whoa, if that kind of power is in the atom, the power of an idea and the chain reaction for good that could take place in that is fantastic. And we're also seeing the chain reaction for not so good that can take place from that consciousness. But if we put spiritual consciousness behind our ideas, we can create something which will change the world. You have the gift. The world is ready to receive. Get ready, get busy, and so it is. Okay, so a little power. Are you ready? Here we are. Acceptance is the answer, and so is resilience, faith, and love. I have access to them all and the confidence to use them. Nice. Okay. So it is our prayer time. In Science of Mind, as you know, we have a prayer treatment process that generally has how many steps? 5 steps. 5 steps. Beginning with recognizing that there's just the one life. Then that we are part of that one life. Then we speak our truth. That's the realization step. Then we say thank you. Thank you for the power of spirit. And then we release that into the law. That's the process. Now, all of us get into this all the time where we start to doubt our prayers. But what happens when you see a practitioner or when we're working with the different ministers here, which are also practitioners, we understand that when we speak it, we know it, we believe it, just like the faith that the ground is right there in front of me. The faith that spirit works is within me, right? It's within all of our practitioners, and I believe it's within each and every one of you. Sometimes that word, that 3-letter word that limits our possibilities gets in the way, but I'm here to tell you, disregard it. Disregard it. So in this moment, we're going to disregard it. We're going to speak our truth. If there's a condition in someone's life that you know that needs to shift, or a condition in your own life, if you'd like to bring more peace, more joy, more harmony into your life, I want you to speak that right out into the room right now, because when you do that, it lets out a vibration that the laws of the universe hears and responds. Quantum physics has already proven what Dr. Holmes and great thinkers before him already knew from somewhere intuitive, and science is finally catching up, and we've been knowing it and practicing it for 100 years here as religious scientists, 33 here at Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley. But that's not the point. The point is, there's power within speaking the truth. So at this moment, I'm going to ask you all to share in a collective prayer by speaking your truth out loud for yourself or for whatever name or person you want to. And let's hear it right now. How great there is to know that there is one life. And that life is called God, Spirit, universe, by many names. But as we close our eyes together in this moment of prayer and tap into our heart space, we can feel it. We know that there's a vitality, that there's something moving, there's something animating us that we can't truly understand, but it's so real. It's in our breath. It's in the pulse of our heart. It's in the movement of our blood through our system. It's the breathing that we take place in. It's life itself. And so as we recognize that and that we are one with it, in that unification with that which is, comes a duty, a responsibility, a sense of ownership, and shared participation, co-creativeness. So it is from this place, knowing that as we speak, we perceive and we receive the truth of who we really are. And that truth shows up as healing and wholeness, right action, divine guidance, harmony, love, forgiveness, the release of judgment, the stepping off into something new and great, the understanding that good and good alone goes forth into my life as a result of the beingness in my life. So right now, in this moment, I affirm that good for each and every person in this room. I affirm that good for each and every person that was brought into this room by the vibration of our voices. I affirm that good for each and every person that is in our heart right now. And I know that we're grateful for the power of Spirit that has given us this thing called life to participate in so fully. And it is from this place of gratitude that I release this prayer to that law that knows to say yes, yes, yes to every call. And so it is. All right.